my favourite 30 singles from 1983. So Rob here with another video. Thanks for joining me. And 1983 was a great year, one of my favourites. Music was great. I just got a scooter, a first proper girlfriend, so I was 19, and the singles chart, sort of some great stuff. So it was a lot of fun going through my singles collection and picking out my favourite 30 singles. So I've done 1981 and 1982 last year, so it's about time I did 1983. So let's get cracking. And number 30 is Big Country. And in a Big Country, so from the really successful album The Crossing, Stuart Adamson, who'd been in the Skids, formed Big Country, and they had quite a few top 20 hits, and this has always been sort of my favourite Big Country track. So number 30, In a Big Country by Big Country. Coming in at number 29 is Public Image Limited, and this is not a love song. So I'm actually more of a fan of Public Image now than I was back in 1983. But this is a single I've always liked, and I had to have it in my top 30. So this is not a love song by Public Image Limited. Number 28 is by an artist who'd been tremendously successful in a different way in the 50s and the 60s, but he brought out a single that was really sort of ahead of its time in 1983. It's Herbie Hancock, and Rocket had a really distinctive video. Of course, in sort of 83, I didn't really know much about Herbie Hancock, but I just knew that I really liked this single, and I still like it now. So my number 28 is Herbie Hancock and Rocket. Coming in at 27 is a bit of a one-hit wonder, but it was all around the discos in 1983. I was someone who, you know, every Friday night I was out and usually going in a nightclub. And this is a song they always played in the summer of 83, IOU by Freeze. The summer of 83, sort of the weather just seemed to be beautiful, blue skies every day. And IOU by Freeze, certainly, when I think of 83, it's one of the tracks I think of. So yeah, my number 27 is Freeze and IOU. Number 26 is a song that's people think about at Christmas time, but it's not really a Christmas song, but it's The Pretenders and 2,000 Miles. So I think this was the only single success by The Pretenders in 83. But it hung around the charts for a long time. And these days, come Christmas time, this is a track that always gets played on the radio. It's one of my favourite Pretenders songs, 2,000 Miles. My number 26. Coming in at number 25, I tried to use picture sleeves, but I don't think this one actually came out on a picture sleeve. It's the Imposter and Pills and Soap. So Elvis Costello was the Imposter, and I remember seeing him on Top of the Pops, you know, Thursday night in the UK. He used to sit down at 7:30 and watch Top of the Pops. In 83, we were a year after the Falklands War. Margaret Thatcher took advantage, held an election in June and had a bit of a landslide. And this track was certainly anti-Margaret Thatcher and anti-Conservative government. So obviously I was a fan of it. So yeah, my number 25 is The Imposter and Pills and Soap. Number 24 is The Fun Boy 3 and Tunnel of Love. So I've just chosen one track by each artist. You know, I could have chosen multiple tracks by some of the artists, but I tried to make it fair. And in 82, the Specials had split after Ghost Town. And Neville Linden and Terry Hall brought out quite a few singles in 83, 84. And this was always one I really liked. So it's my number 24, Tunnel of Love by The Fun Boy 3. Number 23 is The Human League and Keep Feeling Fascination. So In 81, 82, Dare by the Human League was just so successful. And at the end of 82, they released Mirror Man, which was a big hit. And then 83, this came out in the April. It reached number 2 in the chart. And what I did when I did this sort of this chart, I went through a lot of the tracks, sort of trying to put stuff in order. But this is a track I've always liked, and I suppose it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. But yeah, I don't have a problem. Number 23, The Human League and Keep Feeling Fascination. Number 22 is The Cure and The Walk. So The Cure had limited chart success in the UK. I remember getting A Forest, and then they'd had a few tracks that had, not reached the top 40. But in 83, they started to get a little bit of chart success, and I've always really liked The Walk by The Cure. That's my number 22. 21, another band who've had a lot of single success all the way through the 80s, is Depeche Mode and Everything Counts. So once Vince Clarke left Depeche Mode, we all thought that was the end of Depeche Mode, but how wrong were we? If you go through the 80s, there must be over 20 sort of top 20 singles by Depeche Mode, and I've always been a fan of Everything Counts. It's my number 21. Let's go into the top 20 and Craftwork and Tour de France. So Craftwork had a number 1 in 82, sort of by accident, with a model, which I loved, but they weren't the sort of group who were sort of looking for chart success. But this came out in 83 and it was a pretty decent hit, so it had to be in my chart, had to be in the top 20. Tour de France by Craftwork. I show a label on that one. Number 19, this was the final sort of hit single for Altered Images and Don't Talk to Me About Love. So in 82, 81, 82, Altered Images were very successful, mainly, well, not because of Claire Grogan, who sort of everyone had a bit of a crush on. They released some really great singles, and this was a little bit slower, bit of a change in mood, but it's a great single. My number 19, Altered Images and Don't Talk to Me About Love. Number 18, the final sort of top 5 hit for Madness, Sun and the Rain. So Madness has just had a massive run of hit singles. Are they a singles band? Probably. Their albums are good, but the singles are great. And my girlfriend so in 83, I went to Blackpool for the weekend and I was wandering around with my parker on. I went with my mate Simon and spotted a girl with a jam badge on a jacket, and I started following her, and I think she was following me, and we got together. Simon got off with her friend Michelle, and me and Jane got together, and we were together for 18 months. We had a great time. She was a big fan of Madness, so I'm a big fan of this single, Sun and the Rain, my number 18. Number 17, a little bit of a guilty pleasure, I suppose, Nick Haywood, and Take That Situation. So when I did my charts for 81, 82, Haircut 100 were in there. I love the singles. I love the album Pelican West, and he brought out an album called North of a Miracle, which is really good. But this is a single, it stands up, it's a great single. And it's my number 17, Take That Situation by Nick Haywood. Coming in at number 16 is a band who are very, very popular in the vinyl community, but in the UK, they never had that much chart success. It's XTC and Love on a Farmer's Boy's Wages, which I think reached number 50 in the charts. I think it's from the album Murmur, which again wasn't a huge seller. And it's only sort of, they have dated really well, XTC. You know, you mention your favourite British band and XTC always gets a mention. But in 83, 84, they weren't having chart success. Like I say, number 50. But this is my number 16, Love on a Farmer's Boy's Wages by XTC. Number 15, again, a little bit of a guilty pleasure. Didn't have major chart success, a couple of singles, and then they disappeared. It's the Joe Boxers and Just Got Lucky. They had an American single. I think they had a big hit in America with this Just Got Lucky. And in '83, it was just a great summer. Every day seemed to be sunny, and the music sort of reflected that. And this is just a great single, Just Got Lucky, by the Joe Boxers, my number 15. Coming in at 14, big number 1, The Police, and Every Breath You Take, from Synchronicity. So I think in '83 I was just sort of going off The Police a little bit. I do like the album Synchronicity, but it's not my favourite. And the singles from this album, it was very, very successful in America, and obviously in the UK it was successful. It was a number 1, but it's, you know, it's not sort of a top 10 for me. But really good single, Every Breath You Take by The Police, is my number 14. Coming in at 13, a guy who's never really had the success maybe he deserved, but Aztec Camera, Rody Frames. So this single's released a couple of times. It wasn't a massive hit. I think it managed to get in the top 20, but it's a single I've certainly always liked. And Rody Frames, Aztec Camera, released a couple of really good albums. Later on in the 80s, big hit with Somewhere in Your Heart, or In My Heart. But this is certainly my favourite single by Aztec Camera. Number 13, Oblivious. Coming in at number 12 is Elvis Costello, and Every Day I Write the Book. So this is from Punch the Clock, and Punch the Clock was actually voted the best album, NME, in '83. It's a good album, but I'm not sure it's that good. But this is a great single, real feel-good song, Every Day I Write the Book, my number 12, by Elvis Costello. Just missing out on the top 10, The Icicle Works and Love Is a Wonderful Colour. And this is just such a great single. Ian McNabb, of course, band from Liverpool, and we're all sort of waiting for more. And this was the only hit they had. They had many goals at having another top 30 hit, but they never had one. Some of their albums, pretty decent, but this is certainly their best single. Love Is a Wonderful Colour is my number 11. Into the top 10 with a band who had a one-hit wonder, I suppose, in the UK. Pretty successful in America, though. It's Wang Chung and Dance All Days. So this is a single I've always liked. I used to have it on my jukebox when I had one many years ago. And Wang Chung went out to have some really big hits in America. But in the UK, this is the only hit they ever had. Dance All Days is my number 10. Coming in at number 9 is one of my favourite bands from 1983. Saw them many times, The Truth. So spoke about The Truth before. Dennis Greaves from 9 Below Zero. A cross between the Jam and the Style Council. So obviously me and my friends and my girlfriend at the time went to see The Truth many times. Great live band, and it's a great single. Confusion hits us every time. Coming in at number 9. Number 8, the biggest hit for Susie and the Banshees, a cover of Dear Prudence. So they only had 2 top 10 hits, Susie and the Banshees. One of them was Hong Kong Gardens, and the other one was Dear Prudence. This is probably my second favourite single by Susie and the Banshees. But Susie and the Banshees, another band that over the last sort of 12 months I've really been getting into. This is a great single, Dear Prudence, and this is my number 8. Coming in at number 7, maybe a little bit of a surprise. Certainly a bit of a guilty pleasure. Never showed a record by this group on my channel before. It's Toto and Africa. Massive hit in America, top 5 hit in the UK. But I love this song and the production of it. And I just, you know, some songs you shouldn't like, but you do like. And this certainly comes into that category. It's a great song. Toto, Africa is my number 7. Number 6, another group or duo from Liverpool, a one-hit wonder, the Lotus Eaters and The First Picture of You. And again, when you think of 83, this is a song that sort of takes me back to falling in love and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it's just a great single. My number 6, the Lotus Eaters and The First Picture of You. Number 5, another number 1, David Bowie and Let's Dance. So, the number 1 album, number 1 single, Nile Rodgers, heavy input on this record. And, you know, in 83, certainly through the 80s, Thursday nights watching Top of the Pops. And I remember seeing the video for this, of the guy dragging a milling machine up the street, and being an engineer, you know, found that quite interesting. And my dad, who was a miller, actually found it quite interesting as well. Getting back to the song, one of Bowie's best for me. I really love Let's Dance. It's my number 5. Number 4, got a couple of 12-inch singles to show. I must confess, I do not have a copy of This Charming Man by the Smiths. If I did, it will be in my top 5, but my son over in Sheffield has got my copy, so I can't include it. But my number 4 is a 12-inch single, Rip It Up by Orange Juice. So Orange Juice were one of those bands who were a very popular sort of indie group from Scotland, Edwyn Collins. But they never really had that much chart success until Rip It Up, which was a top 10 song. And again, in the summer of 83, it was everywhere. Great single, Rip It Up by Orange Juice. Into the top 3 now. And the debut single by the Style Council. So, of course, Paul Weller had left the Jam. Everyone was sort of, well, all Jam fans were, you know, what's going to be next. And when I heard this single for the first time, I loved it. It just felt like a natural progression. You could understand really why Paul Weller split the Jam up. And at the time, I thought it was the wrong thing. But looking back, it was the right thing to do. And this is a great single. My number 3, Speak Like a Child by Paul Weller and the Style Council. Number 2 is a group who were number 2 in 1982 video that I did. And the number 2 in 83, it's Icicle and the Bunnymen and Never Stop. And on the other side was Heads Will Roll. So Icicle and the Bunnymen, certainly one of my favourite bands. And in the early 80s, they had some great singles into 84, 85. And this is one that I've always loved, so it had to be in the top 5. It's number 2, Never Stop by Icicle and the Bunnymen. But my number 1 is actually a record that never came out as a 7-inch single. It's Blue Monday by New Order. This isn't an original copy. So in 83, I can remember this coming out and being in clubs. And when it came on, the dance floor it was full. And, you know, even now, I suppose, if you go to sort of an indie night, they'll play Blue Monday because it's just dated so well. And it's hard to believe, really. It's nearly 40 years old. So, deservedly, it had to be number 1, Blue Monday by New Order. So, those are my favourite 30 singles from 1983. A great year for me, great year for music. If you've got any comments, did I miss anything out? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching and bye for now.